Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, the Karmelo Anthony, bad Negro, and Austin Metcalf, good Anglo, wholesome boy, is a pawn game, and they know it. And this is what numbers of ones within sectionality, the predominate culture, the ones that are doing this is what they are doing toward numbers of within Black American type personnel by the millions, because they're saying, oh, those Negroes are powerlessness. This is what they're doing. Yes. So look at this image. What you see. We are just using that monkey boy, Karmelo Anthony situation as a pawn game. We will never stop hating on Negroes. We have not stopped in centuries. It has not stopped. So before I go ahead and play this particular first video from this gentleman who has a great podcast himself that's also talking about numbers of these things, I did a couple of infocasts myself. One was specifically relating to the Karmelo Anthony situation. Well, at the same time, within that, I also relayed over a stabbing that happened, what many people had not heard, in this particular LA school and high school, where there's a Black youth, I think it's around 14 to 15 years old, mind his business, not known for causing problems or anything. He was just doing his thing at the high school. Several Hispanics jumped on this Black teen. It was a couple of different times this happened. One of those times, one of those Hispanics, violent ones, they pulled out a knife. And all of a sudden, something happened in between there, and two people got stabbed, right? But at the same time, the Black teen was arrested. Again, self-defense against numbers of violent numbers of Hispanic teens, the one this applies to. And one of those teens pulled out, I think it's a butcher knife or something close to it. Most people hadn't heard about that story. This happened, I think, was it 2000? Oh, this happened December 2024. Many people hadn't heard about that. The other issue that happened to that Black teen happened several months before that. Again, many people hadn't heard about that. Where's all that conversation from numbers of personnel within the predominate culture, the ones that are doing this anti Blackness, right? Especially toward Karmelo Anthony. Where's all those same people at? I'm talking about the other situation I'm talking about. Their quietness. And another podcast I did where it was talking about, again, numbers of people had not heard about this, or very few, where they have a trial going right now. Today is April 25th, 2025. I did a infocast not too long ago where I was talking about how just recently, 2022, but the trial is going on right now. 2022, this Anglo teen that went to a school called Belton High School in Texas. Several of his Harvard Anglo partners went to the bathroom, and this Hispanic teen at that Belton High School went into the bathroom. right? They's about to, duke it out, whatever they're supposed to do for whatever little silly reason. But instead of the duking it out and saying, hey, however go, whatever it is, the Anglo team pulled out a knife. Let me repeat that. The Anglo team at that Belton High School in Texas, 2022, pulled out a knife at the high school in Texas and juked the Hispanic fellow. And unfortunately, he became deceased after those juking. Many people hadn't heard about that story. And then it was claimed self-defense by the particular Anglo teen, and however other numbers of ones within the predominate culture who was talking that crazy stuff. I did a topic show on that part. If anybody's interested, that's inside of the description as well. Quietness, isn't it? But they want to sit down and talk about, oh my God, Karmelo Anthony and what he did to Austin Metcalf, and he should. Why do you bring a knife to that stadium? Again, deflection instead of sticking to reality of who put whose hands on who first. It was Karmelo Anthony put his hands on Austin Metcalf, right? It was Austin Metcalf that put his paws, his privileged paws, on Karmelo Anthony. And numbers of personnel with the predominant culture, the ones that act like demonicnism, the one this applies to, act like they don't understand that kind of English part of it, right? And don't get it confused, because none of the people haven't talked about this. It ain't just certain ones within the predominant culture that's talking like that. There's ones out there within some other different cultures and backgrounds who know they are, that will slot under the people of color and minority banner. Don't get it confused. There are ones that do that. They play the fence in front of millions of American black faces, but at the same time, they're sitting there ploying to how to get over numbers of American blacks. Don't get it confused. And unfortunately, that's one of those things that's going to finish up American blacks by numbers of people posing as people of color and minority, and numbers of immigrating as people, the ones who do this, and numbers of border breaker illegal immigrant personnel, and numbers of ones that have some skin of black, the ones this applies to, who they're black when they want to be black, but then it's like, oh, when stuff really start hitting the fan, black pain type stuff going on, like this Karmelo Anthony situation, right? Oh, those same ones, they quiet. And see, the thing about, again, where is all this allied ship, right, to come together with the black folks? Let me show you what they're doing.
Exit station lab.
Yes. What are they doing again?
Exit station lab.
Yes. Yes. That's what they're doing. So let me go ahead and play this particular clip from this gentleman's podcast, Fair Usage Doctrine. And it's he does a great job of analysis on different topics. Let me go ahead and play this. Make sure that's visible. Okay, all right, let me go ahead and play this. Uh-oh, wrong one. Let me go ahead and play this.
It was raining. They got rained out like crazy bad. Everybody trying to get back to their cars or get in, places where they, wouldn't get all extra wet. Dude was sitting up under the tent, right? He was on his phone, right? My daughters was up under the same goddamn tent. Yeah. So I'm paying attention to my kids, but at the same time, they're in the same vicinity. So I'm watching everything going on around it because I'm there for my children. So dude walks up, McKellen, bro, he wasn't even under the tent at the time. They came from a whole separate tent and walked over there. They intentionally went over there to this kid, man. Dude was sitting there on his phone just trying to get dry. You feel me? One thing went from another. They grabbed this man and they tried to punch on dude. Dude went in his bag and they went to try to jump this dude and punch on this dude, man. And he protected himself, dude. That's what happened. Yeah. It wasn't just one. It was both of them, bro. Austin, that dude that's got unalive, and his brother physically went over there to intentionally. It's not to the point that he brought a knife For one, it wasn't on school property. The school is at least 5 to 10 miles away. It was a community track meet, bruh. It wasn't a school track meet. So he had the right to have a knife on his person, bro.
And look, I'm going to say it again. Rest in peace to that young man, 17 years old. He has so much life to live. But on this channel, we hold racist Caucasian people accountable. And to the good Caucasian people, thank you for understanding and not being evil. And see, it all makes sense. I see why this family was going on every news outlet to tell their side of the story first. But don't worry, we'll get into that audio clip later on in this video. And first of all, it's some things I have to address. Racist Caucasian people, and they love to gaslight black people, and they love to forget, saying things like, oh, this is not about race. Oh, black people are racist. Oh, how can y'all donate $300K to a murderer? Well, on my channel, it's my job to remind you. Run the tape.
In a 2-hour taped confession with FBI agents, Roof explained why he chose Charleston's historic Emmanuel AME Church.
Is that why you chose that church?
Oh, yes.
Because you were looking for African Americans.
Right. I wasn't going to go to another church, because there could have been white people there.
Had you thought about going, hey, I get some more bullets and go shoot some more people?
Oh, no, I was worn out. There's no way.
In Roof's car, law enforcement also recovered American and Confederate flags, empty ammunition boxes, and a firearm along with a laser sight attachment.
What kind of gun did you use?
A Glock 45.
Okay.
Roof allegedly bought that weapon at Shooter's Choice in West Columbia, South Carolina. The gun store's manager testified in court on Monday that Roof cleared the required 3-day federal background check to receive the handgun. He says Roof bought it and 5 magazines on April 16, 2015, nearly 2 months before the shooting.
Are you glad you did it?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm glad I did it, but I've done it. So,
You said it was something you had to do?
yeah, I had to do it.
The Shooter's Choice gun store was ultimately notified by the federal government not to sell a gun to Roof because of a previous drug arrest, but that notification came 12 days after the shootings. Nora, the government should wrap up its case this week.
All right. And guess what happened when police finally arrested Dylan Roof? They took him to Burger King after unaliving 9 innocent people. They drove him right after. They drove him to Burger King. Make that make sense. But this really the cold part. Check this out. On June 25th, 2015, the website Newswatch 33 published an article titled Charleston Church Shooter Dylan Roof receives $4 million in donations from supporters. According to that article, a group called Citizens for White Rights somehow managed to quietly drum up the exorbitant sum of $4 million in donations for an accused racially motivated mass shooter in just over a week without any other media outlets taking notice. And again, the same people calling us racist donated $4 million in just a week to a person that unalived 9 innocent people. Make it make sense. And look, he wasn't the only one. There's more. Check this out. Daniel Penny raises over $2.9 million in donations for a legal defense for subway choking death case. The man who is being charged with the subway choking that caused homeless man Jordan Neely's death is publicly raising money for his legal defense. And see, I love breaking this shit down because people act like they forgot. But now on this channel, partner, we're going to use our platforms to finally hold racist Caucasian people accountable.
But you'll have people that do like this. They see nothing, they hear nothing, and they know nothing. So you see what this gentleman was sitting there showing, especially with the Dylan Roof thing. Millions were sitting there and raised up for Dylan Roof. Millions. And actually, just a few minutes ago, I was sitting there just looking some things up about him again. And they're talking about how Dylan Roof, this mass shotter, racial racism terrorist who admitted that it was about looking for American blacks, took the life of almost 10 black parishioners at that church who welcomed them in Ain't no one sit there with his racial racism terrorist self sit there and took their lives. And you had Harvard personnel from Harvard section of predominates culture, and maybe some other ones who feel just like certain ones within certain parts of predominates culture, raise millions for that. But you got people sitting there jumping up and down. Oh my goodness, how did Harvard donors help raise all that money for Karmelo Anthony? You see the hypocrisy of this. And then the millions that were saved up, millions that were sitting there raised for that coward, Daniel Coward Penny and his two little coward assistants. And that's a whole different topic because I did a whole different topic show on that. Because one of those cowards was a white Hispanic, by the way, who was assisting him on that situation. Again, I did a podcast on that. The other one, I don't know if that's another white Hispanic or another Anglo person or someone that can slide under the people of color, non-black version. But they was basically quietness on showcasing them. You see how that goes, various types of main media. But Daniel Coward Penny was paraded as he was some kind of hero, right? Along with his two little henchmen, right, behind the scenes, subduing a black male. Putting a chokehold, put a chokehold on Daniel Penny, like a little coward behind his back, right? Didn't confront him face to face, right? Choked him out for almost 10 minutes, whatever it was. And he gets paraded out like he's a hero. Oh my goodness, he was trying to attack these people, especially some little Anglo woman and they child. Oh my goodness, as if again, there's not numbers, unfortunately, of people that suffer from different things. You don't hear them get choked out left and right, do you? Nope. But he raised millions to help him out. Do you see how that goes? And they mad about people raising that donate to Karmelo Anthony for his self-defenseness, legitimate self-defense. But he had all rights for self-defense. And he got numbers of people within certain parts of predominant culture and some other ones that want to be like certain ones in the predominant culture, and some other ones that slot under the people of color, minority, non-black ones, and some other ones that want to play coons and sellouts, and anyway, the list goes on. You see the hypocrisy of this, right? On that. Austin Metcalf put his paws, assaulted Karmelo Anthony first. And the only thing you got people talking about ones within certain parts of predominant culture and some other ones talking about, well, he bring a knife there. You like, it's a legal knife. He had. How many people in that stadium had legal knives or some kind of other type thing? Some people say, oh, that's a weapon. Many probably in that stadium that came with something like that. You see how this disgusting game, oh, it's not about race, while at the same time they making it about race against Karmelo Anthony. But it also shows you some personnel I'm talking about a powerlessness, right, upon millions within American Blackism, with very few exceptions. Because what happened not too long ago, that he basically was moved from their nice house up in that Frisco area, nice house, family intact, almost 20 years married, and numbers of people within the predominant culture and some other ones that want supplies to. Can't stand that. But Austin Metcalf, because family dysfunctional, because other people have related this over, it has been allegedly that, because it was shown too, that Austin Metcalf's father may have had a sexual assaultedness conviction on his record. But numbers of people within the predominant culture want to be quiet on that. The one that applies to. You see, that's why I say it's not about the truth. It is about an agenda, a pawn. Because just recently, whatever this piece of crap guy was from whatever this particular Anglo guy from whatever situation, known racial race baiter themselves. It's funny how they try to portray certain numbers of black folks as race baiters, but when it's some numbers of people within their personal culture, the one that does this, and they race baiting big time, that like they don't see that. Get out of here with that tactic. They know who they are. right? But he had did this some kind of thing he wanted to try to have a little race riot thing going on, right? Protest, and it was very minuscule who showed up. But then he had a coon right next to that little anti-American black person who was sitting there basically getting together, who was doing basically the sponsoring or the conversation at this bus they had, right? Trying to rile up numbers of personnel within the Panamanian culture, the one this applies to. So he was trying to, infuriate certain ones within the Panamanian culture who was out there to a race war, right? But they had this old big black male out there right next to him. It was almost like cringe. It's like, oh my goodness, he was almost like a slave, almost. But my last thing I want to show is from the greatness of American black scholar, black psychologist. He was a professor at a college or two, Dr. Amos Wilson. Because see, this society, various parts of society, they act like the American blacks can't be psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, medical doctors, which I did another topic show on that particular part about a black medical doctor who was told that by this particular Anglo person that he doesn't want a black male to sit there and put his hands on him. But again, where's all that outrage from numbers of people within the various parts of Panamanian culture on that? What about some of these little sellout coons and deflections? What about some of the ones that hide under people of color, non-black, and minority, non-black, and ones that have a skin of black, the one this applies to, again, the ones that portray they black when they want to get resources and benefits. But when it comes down to things like Karmelo Anthony and all this other anti-American black hatred daily, those same ones, they do like this too.
Exit station left.
Yes, the ones who do it. Yes. Yes. But let me go ahead and play you Dr. Amos Wilson, a clip of this, because again, it's not because unfortunately there are certain ones within American Blackism. Yes, they're all taking this personal as well, and I understand why. But at the same time, again, there is a pawn game to this as well. Let me go ahead and play this.
We must recognize then that often the publishing of news and so forth is not about then the publishing of truth or necessarily the publishing of lies, but about the manipulation of consciousness and about the achievement of particular social and political goals. And often they are not even about the person who is at the center of the story. The person is often secondary to the whole purpose of what's going on. Who is at the center of the story. And often they are not even about the person who is at the center of the story. The person is often secondary to the whole purpose of what's going on and is merely a cog or a pawn being used. If you don't know that though, it's merely a cog or a pawn being used. If you don't know that though, you will personalize the issues and miss the whole point of what is going on. And we as people must remove ourselves from this tendency to personalize stories and issues. I'll give a quick example of that. I'm sure there are many blacks now in Louisiana who are going to sleep after having come out to the polls and voted Dukes down. And who are feeling very proud about their voting prowess.
Oh, by the way, this is around, I think, 1990s. Dr. Amos Wilson, I think he transitioned sometime in the early 1990s as well. So he was just a treasure trove of knowledge in layman's terms and things like that for what was going on around as well. And the thing about it, we said David Duke for some people, and see this thing about it, that was 1990s. So that's more than a generation plus ago. Many dozens of people weren't even born. There's quite a number of people that weren't even in America in the 1990s. That's what makes it crazy, because the prior to 2000, the main three cultures was white, and some other people try to slide under the banner of white. You had two was American Black, three numbers of what we call Spanish, which is very broad, because I don't think that means you speak Spanish, but the primary would have been Mexican, and four would have been what we call Asian, which is very in general, because again, there's only certain sections of Asians in the country still in the 90s, right? And still very minuscule for numbers, right? And the thing about it is, but then around right close to 2000, a little bit after that, demographics change on purpose. It's a whole different game in itself. Whites were still number one, was number the ones were then that slot under the white banner, the ones who know what they do. Two, then it went to Hispanics, which is a whole different devastation to numbers of American Blacks that don't even realize collectively what's happening. Millions that really don't even understand this, with very few exceptions that do. So now Hispanics are number two, and there's a whole different ploy of agenda and numbers of anti-American Black by certain ones of Hispanicism, the one it applies to. And three, because it's unfunny how even people that don't even realize this Afro-Hispanic, and there's a number of Afro-Hispanics that catch all kind of hell in various other countries across that border and some other places because of the darkness of their skin. And so, and four is numbers of Asians, whatever that's supposed to mean, because that's, you know, Asia is a continent and it's made up of several different countries, right? And it gives Afro-Asians, and people like Armenians are considered Asians. Iranians are considered Asians. Iraq is considered Asians. You see how that game goes. So, and there's numbers of Asians that can't stand other Asians. You see how that little game go, right? But when it comes down to it, there's still an anti-American Black regardless. Even though now, again, they got an anti-Asian hate crime bill, or the certain ones within the cast of some Asianists. Oh my goodness, Black folks are doing this to Asians, and they found out it was numbers of Caucasian people that was doing this old crazy ass crime toward numbers of Asians collectively, the ones who were doing it, not American Blacks. You see that game in itself. But the number one people who have the most hatred put upon them is numbers of Black folks. And there's numbers of examples. I've sit there showed numbers of examples where certain numbers of Asians or casts of some Asians, the one who do this, have sit there and show blatant anti-American Black hatred, but it's quietness on that. So, but David Duke was a Ku Klux Klan member who also ran for, and I think he won in one of the congressional districts in Louisiana. Now here it is, he's a segregationist, and he won one of the congressional seats in Louisiana at one time, and even another time he wanted to try to win a presidential nomination under the Democratic Party. You're talking about the damn cloud calling the cement white. Oh my goodness, on that situation. Could you imagine a known segregationist, for people who don't know, known segregationist, known anti-American Black hater, right? And for him to try to run for presidential candidacy, but at the same time, he will sit there elected to one of the congressional seats. Think about how that sounds. So just want to add that for some people who may not know who David Dukes was, because he is also what they call a grand wizard, which means he had a high position at this particular Klan organization within Louisiana.
And who saw the danger as Duke, who forgot their history, by the way. And remember that at another time in history, they were able to vote too. And those votes were taken away from them. And it took almost 100 years for them to regain the right to vote. So that, in a sense, this voting against Duke does not necessarily represent Black power. It was the absence of Black power during the Reconstruction that permitted the voting, the franchise that Blacks have for voting to be taken away. What then makes us sure that this franchise won't be taken away again? What have we done as a people to ensure that our right to vote will be determined by our power, not by the power of others? And I think we've done relatively little in that regard. There are some who are forgetting that 55% of whites voted for David. Did those 55% of the majority of whites who voted just walk away and forget about what they were concerned with simply because Duke didn't win office, or are they still there? In other words, then, the issue moves beyond David Duke to the fact that we have a large number of whites who have certain attitudes, and those whites are still alive and well, and those attitudes are still there whether David Duke lives or dies tomorrow. Duke didn't win office, or are they still there? In other words, then, the issue moves beyond David Duke to the fact that we have a large number of whites who have certain attitudes, and those whites are still alive and well, and those attitudes are still there whether David Duke lives or dies tomorrow.
And that was in the 90s. And some of those still anti-Black American racial racism terrorists, numbers of them are still alive. Some wear business suits. Some might have some smocks on in the medical environment. Some might be in certain legalness. Some might be in politicalness. Some might be within the teachingness. Some might be within certain professorshipness. Right? The list goes on. Right? Nothing has dramatically changed. Right? But they expect still millions of American blacks to just act like race is still not happening. And then have the nerve to be jumping up to my, what about BLM? Oh, you go to hell with that. Because then logical analysis was like, why did BLM even come to existence? Right? Because of Trayvon. Right? That a coward white Hispanic Zimmerman who sit there, had a boom boom piece of equipment, who was told not to sit there and follow, was told not to follow. That black teen, oh, well, he was suspicious. Do not follow him. And he followed anyway. Right? And he and Zimmerman sit there, raised millions was donated to his defense. Where's all that outrage for that part from certain ones within sexual predominant culture, right? So when self-defense is claimed by certain ones within the predominant culture on the white Hispanicism or certain other cultures and backgrounds, the ones that applies to, et cetera, it's acceptable. That's why I say again, this Karmelo Anthony situation, it's a pawn game. Because when that trial, ends and stuff like that, still people go back right about their own business, and many people gonna forget about it. Because from now, now it's April 26, 2025. Now, when this happened at the early part, a few days in April to now April 26, that's a few weeks. Anti-American Black pain has still been going on by numbers of racial racist, anti-Black terrorists. Nothing has stopped. You see, this is a pawn on that, because they don't want to have this set as a precedent relating to, oh my goodness, we can't have black folks in there act like they can claim self-defense. You said this goes right. So again, Karmelo Anthony situation is nothing but a pawn game by certain ones within certain sections of the predominant culture ones applies to, and certain ones that try to slot under the banner of white, and some other people that slot under the people of color nonsense game and minority game nonsense as well too. But let me go ahead and finish playing the greatness of Dr. Amos Wilson, who gave some interpretation even back in the 90s about certain things.
So the issue is not Duke. The issue is a group of white folk, and a sizable group of white folk who has specific types of attitudes, who are still there, and who still then pose a threat to black freedom. In fact, Duke alone poses no threat to black folk. He's one person. You get the same kind of game that goes on with Hitler. We get the white media that projects the mad Hitler. Hitler, who his great oratory hypnotizes the German people. That's nonsense. Hitler did not build the concentration camps alone. Hitler did not go into Poland by himself. It took a whole German nation to cooperate with Hitler. If the German nation did not accept Hitler and support Hitler, then Hitler could not have had any influence or effect on history whatsoever. But we have a media, you see, that makes you perceive Hitler as the bad guy. It was the German people in relationship to Hitler that created the problem. And in the end, then it won't be individuals only, it will be groups. In relationship to Hitler that created the problem. And in the end, then it won't be individuals only, it will be groups of people against other groups of people. But if you have this tendency then to get caught up in individuals, you're going to miss the group phenomena.
The poignant and greatness of Dr. Amos Wilson, who put his interpretation on something that was going on back in early 1990s. Just like to now, 2025, Karmelo Anthony situation is nothing but a pawn game. It's a pawn game. There are numbers of personnel within certain section of the predominate culture, the ones this applies to, and some other ones who slot under people of color and minority switchery nonsense tactic, right? And some other people who know they are. The ones that have an anti-Black American racial racism, terrorist hatred of Black American people, but they're smiling in front of Black American people's faces. Again, Karmelo Anthony, it's a pawn game. It's a disgusting pawn game. And more people need to know it's a pawn game. Because again, as I close this show, for the people who might be listening to this today or another time who have never heard the story, in the description, I did a couple of different shows, one specifically for Karmelo Anthony as well. Within that mix, I also showed where there was a Black teen, about 14 years old, 14, 15 years old. He was at a school in LA around December 2024, only a few months ago. He was jumped by several Hispanic fellows, teens, at a high school in LA. And a few months before that, he was also, this Black teen who was minding his business, he was jumped again by a number of Hispanics. In one of those situations, a knife was produced from one of those type of Hispanics who was trying to stab the little Black teen. Many people hadn't heard that story. That was 2022 on that. Oh, skip 2024 in December. Where's all that old gigantic, oh my goodness, self-defense claim stuff like that then? It was for the Black teen, but it was quietness by numbers of ones within the predominate culture, right? Because that was a number of Hispanic personnel who were doing the stabbing or trying to stab the little Black teen. You see a little hypocrisy. But the crazy part about it, the Black teen was arrested because a couple of people got stabbed. Right? Now he's doing self-defense and he gets arrested. And then one of the other shows in the description for anybody who wants to, if I'm interested on that, I did another show for a number of the people who hadn't heard of this show. And I'll close it with this. Named Casey Allison. Casey Allen. Do I have this? No, I don't have it right now. Casey Allison was a 17, 18-year-old teen. 18-year-old not 18, but they consider teens still in high school. So 18-year-old teen was at a high school in Belton High School in Texas. Well, he stabbed a Hispanic teen that went to Belton High School. The Anglo teen produced a knife at the Belton High School in which he went in with his little Anglo friends who were males inside the bathroom. The little Hispanic boy went inside the bathroom and they fought whatever it is. Instead of doing their little dukes or whatever it is, whoever win, the little Anglo boy, Casey Allen, produced a knife and stabbed the little Hispanic. I think his name was Ramirez. Don't quote me on that. It's one of those situations. And unfortunately, he stumbled out the bathroom, the Hispanic boy, and unfortunately, he ended up being deceased. And the little Anglo boy, Casey Allison, claimed self-defense. You see the hypocrisy. So Casey Allison brought a knife, chose to bring a knife to the Belton High School, knowing he's going to get into a fight. He knew he's going to get in a fight with the little Hispanic. Both of them went inside the bathroom, but instead of the little Anglo boy coward putting his dukes up with the Hispanic one, putting his dukes up, he decided to sit there and produce a knife and juke the little Hispanic person, and then claim self-defense. But you got people that be like, they see nothing, they hear nothing, and they know nothing. Talking about ones within various sections of predominate culture. Many people had not even heard of that particular story. And it's a trial going on right now. Casey Allison. You see the hypocrisy. Where's all that gigantic jumping up and down about self-defense for Casey Allison? It's not, because it's a naturalness. It's already assumed that Casey Allison had a right to defend himself from the little Hispanic boy at Belton High School. But Karmelo Anthony had a knife in his backpack, wasn't going to the track to sit there and hope he sees Austin Metcalf to get into it. There are witnesses at the beginning of the show. With mid part of the show, I shared the screen to this other gentleman who has a great podcast called Introvert Rockstar, where he also somebody was relaying that they also a witness themselves. A daughter was there in the tent who said that it was it was Austin Metcalf and allegedly his brother that was trying to jump on Karmelo Anthony. But they act like they don't see that part. Oh my goodness, but he brought a knife. A legal knife, by the way. But you see these little games. That's why I say in closing, Karmelo Anthony, unfortunately, situation is nothing but a pawn game by certain ones within certain parts of predominate culture who have the hatred toward numbers of American Black. And they are trying to do an insidious racial riot as if American Blacks are not supposed to be able to protect themselves. Do you see how the insidiousness of that, right? And unfortunately, millions of American Blacks are kind of have some naiveness to even various other people that smile in front of their faces.
Peace, perhaps on your side, Maximal Scum. Yes, but not on ours. Permit me to inform you that an enemy which appears to be peaceful may in fact be merely biding its time.
Yes. There are people who are buying their time. They're laughing. They're sitting back watching. Ha ha ha. Let them Negroes and certain of those Anglo people, let them fight against each other. And we're just going to, you know what? I'm going to show this one last thing. Again, there's good numbers of Hispanics and there's bad numbers of Hispanics. There's good numbers of Asians. There's bad numbers of Asians. Right? And there are, and there are border breaker illegal immigrants that are laughing all the way around. Right? Because they do want American Blacks to fight their battles. You see how the cities is that? They want numbers of American Blacks to sit there and fight what? Pro-Palestinianness. Sitting there and fight pro-Ukrainianness. You see this nonsense of this, right? But let me sit there and show you. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can find this. Oh, it's a good one too. It's a good video. Yes. Again, I'm not talking about numbers of bad Hispanics. There's good Hispanics. But now they are the second largest demographics. And then you add in multi-millions of illegal immigrants. And numbers of those women are popping out babies left and right off the backbones of black pain. Off the 14th Amendment of the Constitution that was supposed to grant automatic citizenship. Supposed to black folks who had been enslaved already. Right? Because they weren't even considered citizens in 1868 when the 14th Amendment was supposed to came upon. You see this game that's going on.
We remain a hunted people. Now you think you have a destiny to fulfill in this land that historically has been ours for 40,000 years. And we're a new mestizo nation. This is our homeland. We cannot, we will not, and we must not be made illegal in our own homeland. We are not immigrants that came from another country to another country. We are migrants free to travel the length and breadth of the Americas because we belong here. We are millions. We just have to survive. We have an aging white America.
See the game on that part, right? Again, I'm not talking about some of the good Hispanics, but there are bad ones too, and ones that play the fence. Just like certain numbers of Asians, I don't like you utilizing that generic term because Asia's a continent, and there are good ones and bad ones, and there's Afro-Asians most people don't talk about. But let me sit there and play this with about certain numbers of this particular Asian guy. Caste system one.
What's the issue?
What's up?
Why are you coming over here?
I just want to see what you guys are taking pictures of.
Why is it your business?
Well, you know what? This is my home.
Okay, mine too. Why are you taking pictures
Where
of
do you
me?
live?
I live in Scottsdale. Why are you taking pictures of me?
Michigan plates?
Yeah. Why are you taking pictures of me?
Well, you know what? We've had problems here.
I don't care. You don't know me. Why are you taking pictures of me? And I don't know you. Do you know a lot of white men are doing racist things in this world, sir?
No.
You don't know that? You're not aware of that?
I'm a racist.
You are a racist.
I'm a racist.
Okay, that's fine.
And there are millions of American blacks. Again, they don't even realize.
Peace perhaps on your side, Maximal scum. Yes, but not on ours. Permit me to inform you that an enemy which appears to be peaceful may in fact be merely biding its time.
And again, with Karmelo Anthony's situation, he has been used as a pawn. Thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show.